There is a row raging in Nottinghamshire local politics, and it's all to do with one thing. The county council wants to scrap district and borough councils. You're talking about places like Rushcliffe Borough Council, Mansfield District Council, and replace them with one big body. And that could have serious positives for you. It would be more streamlined for you, and it could also cut costs. A mum from Clifton who's been catching online predators for more than a year by setting up fake social media profiles has turned her attentions to Facebook, where she says an even bigger problem is festering. Jo Stubbs is part of Facebook Hunters, which is tracking down and reporting people who share indecent images of children online. Jo, thanks for joining us. I'm wondering if you can give me some idea of the scale of the problem.
It's immeasurable. It's absolutely massive. There's thousands and thousands of pages, an uncountable amount of people that are involved in all of this. It's not just necessarily just photos of child abuse, which sounds flippant, but it's also things like bestiality, incest, that kind of thing that's all being promoted, all on Facebook, and nothing's being done about it.
It's worth putting Facebook's point of view across here. We did contact them. They say they've got a zero tolerance for child exploitation on Facebook. They say that this illegal behaviour is rare on the platform. When they do find it, they immediately remove it and they report it to relevant law enforcement agencies. They also say they work with safety experts around the world. You must come into contact with some fairly horrible stuff that we don't even particularly want to talk about in detail on the television at this time of day. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering what impact that has on you, what toll that takes on you.
I've just learnt to compartmentalise everything, and because I've done the hunting thing for over a year now, there's not, touch wood, there's not an awful lot that does shock me, so I can just put it to the back of my mind.
I'm back with Marcellus Baz from the Nottingham School of Boxing, here to talk about a fighter he knows very, very well and who's chalked up another professional win tonight, Amari Grant.
8 wins, 8 fights, Amari Grant. Very, very excited about this kid. We were here not long ago when he last fought, and he looked tired, it was messy, you know, and a lot of people had question marks over Amari.
Let's talk about one of the fights we've not yet seen this evening. Echo Esserman versus Tyrone Nurse, headline fight on the card. What are your hopes, your expectations?
I think that it's a risk for Echo to be jumping that much because Tyrone's coming with a lot of experience. It's been around the block.
Well, let's hear from the man himself, Echo Esserman, laying his English title on the line tonight to fight experienced, tough, savvy boxer Tyrone Nurse. Win, and he could make the step and open a pathway to more big fights. Here's Echo.
If Ilkeston Town win the league and the fans are watching and Alan Hardy sits there like this.
It's no disrespect to my Ilkeston fans.
It's like this, you know, the debate we always end up having about players not celebrating against their former clubs. Sometimes it's a natural reaction, I would say.
Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Sports Week here at Meadow Lane for the Games of Remembrance. 2 football matches played between British soldiers and German soldiers to mark 100 years since the end of the First World War and to remember those who gave their lives on both sides of the conflict. Now, the Games have been backed by big names from the world of football, including World Cup winner Sir Bobby Charlton and some local legends too.
A little bit of fight and talk from the British side there, but despite that competitiveness, the organisers of the Games are trying to encourage you not to lose track of the real message behind this event, which is one of remembrance. Major General Mitch Mitchell is the chairman of the Army Football Association. It's wonderful to be speaking to him now. Mitch, that message, sum it up for me.
I think probably, as you always have to have as a soundbite, it's 3 R's. Remembrance. To remember the sacrifice of those who went before.
Hello and welcome to the final of the Notts FA Saturday Senior Cup. One of the biggest, most prestigious and most competitive competitions in Nottinghamshire football. 2 of the biggest names in Nottinghamshire non-league football facing off tonight, all to decide who will win a trophy that was first fought for in the year 1884. The competition now in its 137th year. Tonight, Carlton Town and Basford United will fight to decide who takes that trophy home with them. Before we get stuck into the action and the news from both camps, let's hear from the managers, hopefully a couple of players and also some of the club staff associated with each team.
But first, a controversial new scheme aimed at reintegrating sex offenders back into society. It's caused serious debate across Notts this week and attracted national interest. The Corbett Centre for Prisoner Reintegration has opened in the city this week, a partnership involving Nottingham Trent University and a charity, the Safer Living Foundation. It aims to support people who've left prison with education, skills training and emotional support. The goal is to provide the tools to live a productive and offence-free life. Here to talk about it are two of the people organising the project. Professor Belinda Winder is the university's head of Sexual Offences, Crime and Misconduct Research Unit. Dr Nicholas Blagden is a senior lecturer in psychology and also a member of the research unit. Belinda, I'm wondering if you can explain to me the need for a facility like this.
Yeah, so sexual abuse in society is a big problem. We have about 14,000 people in prison convicted of sexual offences. We have about 55,000 people in the community who are on the sex offenders register. We have more people who aren't on the register who've committed offences before 1997. And we also probably have about 55,000 who are under investigation. So we know that sexual abuse in society is a big problem.
Nicholas, this has proved controversial this week. It's an emotive issue, and I'm wondering what you can say to people watching to reassure them as to the safety of having offenders like this in the city centre.
Well, we take people's safety, that's our top priority, and what we do really is about keeping communities safer.
Some people would say that any funding, any volunteer hours, any resources that are available should be going towards supporting survivors. What do you say to that?
Well, indeed, we cannot emphasise enough how much we empathise with the victims and survivors of sexual abuse.
It may seem like a Labour win is a sure thing, but that's not to say there won't be sweeping change to the council in the weeks, months and years to come. The council's leader, John Collins, is stepping down after 16 years at the helm, and the Conservatives, should they be elected, are promising sweeping changes to the authority. Well, it's a pleasure to be joined by the man who is still the English welterweight champion. He's got a big smile on his face to prove it. Echo, how are you feeling after that?
You know what, I feel good. It was a match that we knew wasn't going to be an easy match, and it was a voluntary, so we picked him. We knew it was a big step up, but I'm not in it to mess around, as I always say, so you've got to step up your opposition, and I wanted to show people and the whole nation what I'm about. I'm not messing around. I'm here to take out the guys at the top, and that was just the start. And then, so for now, I'm just going to simmer for a bit and call out a few people.
But this was a risk. You can't make any mistake about that. This was a big risk. You only need to look at his class, his experience, the way he moved around in the ring there to see that. How glad are you took that risk, and what opportunities do you think that opens up for you?
You know what? As long as I believe in myself and I come to the ring the best me that I can be, it was just a calculated risk.
Paralympic swimming champion Ollie Hind has had a year full of turmoil and emotion. 3 times he's had to change the classification he swims in. That means potentially having to race against less impaired athletes. But despite the drama, the heartbreak, he's pushing onwards. It is always a pleasure to have Ollie on Notts TV. Ollie, quite the year.
Yeah, it's been very eventful to say the least. So at the beginning of the year I went through a reclassification period which all the athletes were going through, which I presumed would have just been a routine. But you know, to my surprise, World Para Swimming decided that they wanted me to swim in the category above S9, which obviously with my impairment is progressive, so didn't really understand the decision, so we went through the appeal process, which obviously has been a very long process, and you know got very legal. We eventually won the appeal.
You're considering your options, but is one of them potentially stepping out of the pool and stopping competing?
I wouldn't like it to come to that, to be honest, but you know I don't really know, to be honest, at the minute. I need to assess all my options and see what's the best move for me.
Well, that's it from the Mansfield Town Ground, Field Mill, the One Call Stadium, whatever you want to call it. It's been a fantastic night of football that's seen Basford United emerge 3-0 winners over Carlton Town in the final of the Notts FA Saturday Senior Cup. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon.